The mini Dragon Warrior saga continues today with version 8. Version 8 looks a lot like version 7, but you'll notice something different. So in version 7, we had these portals. Portals take you between maps. That's pretty cool. But this time, can't seem to walk over those mountains. Why? Well, that's because we have collision detection, my friend. Collision detection. What I've added feature-wise here is really just this idea of collision detection, and there will be parts of the map that you don't want to walk on or that you can't. So like, for example, this is a mountain. Can't walk on a mountain, that kind of thing. And in the original game, mountains and oceans and things like that were used to be areas that you can't walk on. So again, it gives you that illusion that you're in a real world because there are real things that are real physical barriers. So there's some parts like, flat grasses or low-lying hills that you can walk on. But if you're trying to cross the mountains, it's going to say, no way. How do we do that? Well, the first thing is here in the map, those initial two map tiles file things are the same. The arrays look the same. I've added a new one called collision map. And all its collision map is really just like a binary 1-0 kind of thing. If it's a 1, then it is something where you are going to not be able to walk on it. If it's a 0, you can totally walk freely there. In terms of the actual code, not too much had to happen. Added the collision map when we load the map. Okay. And then check map doesn't really do anything exciting. Load tile map is the same. So here's what actually had to change. What ended up changing a lot is, so these originally were just if the key is down, do stuff, right? So if the keyboard key is down, you do all this logic here. Well, now we're adding an extra step here and we're saying if the keyboard key is like the down key is down, then we also are checking to see the collision map. And what it's doing is it's taking the hero map position and it is then essentially saying, for example, if you go down, that's like adding 1 in our virtual coordinate system to the Y element. So if you're saying the hero map, like the hero Y position +1 and then the same X position. So essentially the block 1 below. So for example, if we're up here and we press down, it should collide with the mountain. So it's not going to do anything. So what this is doing is it's basically saying if it's 0, right? So like if you're in the top left corner in the collision map, I can show you the collision map here. If you're in the top left corner here, the one below it is 0. So then it should do everything else as normal. If you're up here, the one below it is 1, so it will not run all that stuff. Again, super rudimentary collision detection, but in a tile map situation like this, totally works. So all our code is really doing is it's basically saying, like, for example, if you want to go right, it's going to look at this tile here and say, is there a collision there? If it is, you can't move. If there's not, so like, for example, if you're standing here, there's no collision here, and so on and so forth. And then as you can see, when you actually load these other maps and stuff, it starts to feel like a different thing. Now, granted, both of these I have set up with the same collision map, could certainly have multiple collision maps. And in the final version, I'd imagine that each map has its own collision map attached to it. So then, the overworld is going to have its mountain ranges and its waterways and so on and so forth that our hero cannot traverse. Whereas a dungeon is going to have a very different collision map, or a town is going to have a different collision map. And so these are like what these little demos and iterations are really meant to show you is essentially building these features out one at a time, but then setting up for a larger game as it goes. Without some of these features in place, without the code to check it, it's hard to build out a larger world. So that is the collision detection for the mini Dragon Warrior project. Thanks for watching.